My boyfriend sold me. I woke up with a gun to my head, being pushed into a slaughterhouse. Faced with a group of heavily armed thugs, I just licked my lips in excitement. Soon, they'd find out what real hell is. The next time I saw Felix, he was plunging a trench knife into some guy's head. Blood splattered across his face. The same face that once looked at me with gentle affection was now a mask of cruelty and bloodlust. The other captives, herded in like pigs alongside me, screamed and tried to bolt for the exit. They were immediately taken down with stun batons, and the room filled with their agonized screams. Only I stood perfectly still. It had been so long since I smelled blood. The scent was exhilarating. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. My strange behavior quickly caught Felix's attention. He walked toward me, step by step, his bloody knife still in hand. I forced myself to tremble, looking up at him with tears welling in my eyes. "Felix, I'm begging you, please let me go back. I want to go home." Felix just laughed. Even covered in blood, he was still so handsome. He'd used that face to trick so many naive girls. I wonder if they'd still love him so much after I carved it up. The thought made me shiver with anticipation, imagining him writhing in agony at my feet, watching as I sliced up that perfect face, one cut at a time. Felix used the bloody tip of his knife to lift my chin, the sharp edge leaving a red line on my neck. Another fraction of an inch, and he would have pierced my throat. "My precious little princess, now that you've entered my world, leaving isn't going to be so easy." He leaned in close, whispering in my ear, "You're going to have to pay a price." I looked at him, crying, and carefully tugged on his sleeve. "Felix, you promised you'd protect me forever. You can't do this to me." He seemed to get off on my breakdown. He put away the trench knife and used his bloody hand to wipe away my tears. "Sweetheart, my old friend General Wu is coming over tonight. He has a thing for helpless little things like you. I need you to entertain him for me." He grabbed the back of my neck and pressed my face into his chest. "Be a good girl, sweetheart. If you listen, then I can take you home." "Okay, I'll be good." I suddenly stopped crying. I could feel his heartbeat, and a grin stretched across my face. What a beautiful sound. I hoped it would still be beating this strong when I ripped it out of his chest. "Felix," I whispered back to him, "you once told me that if you ever lied to me, you'd die without a grave." Felix seemed to sense something was off. His grip on my neck tightened, and he lifted me up, his brow furrowed. But the next second, all he saw was my tear-streaked face. "Felix, you're hurting me," I sobbed. The grim look on his face softened. He didn't waste any more words on me, and waved over one of his men in sunglasses. "Take her away. Get her cleaned up." I was taken to a 3-story villa filled with women, scantily clad, gaudily made-up women. They all had vacant eyes, and their exposed skin was covered in scars. A woman with big, curly hair and a large flower tucked behind her ear swaggered over, her face a mask of flattery. "Shades, it's not even dark yet. What brings you here?" The man in sunglasses, Shades, didn't bother with pleasantries. He just shoved me forward. "Rosie, General Wu is coming tonight. The boss wants to use her to welcome the old goat." The woman, Rosie, looked me up and down. "Mama, she's so delicate. You think she can handle him?" She and Shades exchanged a lewd grin. "That old man is a real sicko. Last time, he broke little Amy's leg. She's still upstairs, half dead." "Half dead? Why are we even keeping her? I'll take her to the blood bank today. We're running low anyway," Shades said coldly. He then leaned in and whispered to Rosie, "Keep a close eye on this one. Don't let Wu kill her. I haven't had a turn with a beauty like this yet." After saying his piece, he gave Rosie's but a firm slap. I tilted my head, watching them. How should these two die? A single stab wound felt too merciful. I began to ponder the possibilities. Neither of them noticed my gaze as they flirted. Rosie pushed him away coyly. "Don't you worry. I know what to do." Rosie led me into a luxurious suite. The furniture and appliances were all top of the line, but the walls were adorned with a horrifying array of torture instruments. A faint, metallic scent of blood hung in the air. "You're the first one I've seen who hasn't cried or made a scene," Rosie said, looking at me with a hint of disappointment. But she quickly smiled again. "Then again, by tonight, you won't even be able to cry." She sneered and had someone drag me into the shower. After I was washed, they put me in a white dress and then chained me to the bed. Everyone left, leaving me alone. I looked at my reflection in the mirror on the wall, barefoot, kneeling on the white carpet, my damp hair clinging to my shoulders. I really did look like a helpless little bunny. I almost believed it myself. But did they really think this little chain could hold me? I squeezed my thumb, and with a soft click, my hand slipped easily from the shackle. The sun was setting too slowly. The waiting was making me antsy. Just as the sky began to darken, I heard the sound of car engines downstairs. I stood by the welded-shut window and watched as Felix got out of a car with a portly man in a military uniform. A truck behind them unloaded dozens more men in uniform. They all entered the villa, and soon, the sound of laughter drifted up, punctuated by the screams of women. "General Wu, I've prepared a gift for you. It's inside. I hope you have a wonderful time tonight." The door to my room opened, and a mountain of a man walked in. When he saw me chained to the bed, a wicked smile spread across his face. He said, "This gift, I am very satisfied." He walked toward me, step by step. "No, don't." I feigned terror, scooting backward on the floor. "Felix, save me." I screamed for help. But Felix just closed the door, giving me one last cold, decisive look. As the footsteps faded away outside, I realized they hadn't even left a guard. They really were confident, weren't they? The instant General Wu's fat hand was about to touch me, I drove a steel nail straight through his palm. Arg! His scream was cut short as I swiftly shoved a gag into his mouth, silencing his agonized cries. "General Wu," I said, offering him the most tender smile in the world, "I'm going to make sure you have an absolutely thrilling night." The general was as strong as he was heavy. It took a great deal of effort to finally subdue him. I dislocated every joint in his body. He collapsed to the floor with the force of a falling wall. He made a lot of noise, but not one of the revelers downstairs paid any mind. I took the instruments from the wall and tried each one on him. His gagged mouth couldn't make a sound. He could only glare at me with his murky eyes. I didn't like being looked at that way, so I plucked 2 flowers from a potted plant and stuck them in his eye sockets. His body was surprisingly resilient. He didn't stop breathing until dawn. Ugh, I was so tired I didn't even want to speak. As the sky began to lighten, the party downstairs finally died down. They were coming upstairs. A soft knock came at the door. "General Wu, are you awake?" It was Felix's voice, full of deference. When there was no answer, Felix knocked a few more times. Still nothing. The men outside began to whisper amongst themselves. "The general is usually up by now. Maybe he was just too tired from last night." "General!" Someone outside shouted, his voice louder now. Commander Bao called. "He said a shipment is arriving today and for you to head back early." Even the mention of Commander Bao elicited no response from inside. The men outside finally realized something was wrong. Something's happened to the general. The heavy wooden door was kicked open, and the men flooded in. But their footsteps stopped dead as they entered the suite. I couldn't see them, but I knew the expressions on their faces must be priceless. "General!" That must have been Wu's adjutant. He let out a wail of despair. But he didn't dare get closer. "Felix, what happened? Why does the general look like this?" Felix was also stunned by the sight. How could this happen? "Quick!" It was Felix who reacted first. "Find me the woman from last night." A frantic search began. Under the bed, nothing. The bathroom, nothing. The closet, nothing. Tear it apart. Tear everything apart. They even ripped open the air ducts, but they couldn't find me. I couldn't help but chuckle. A bunch of idiots. Did they really think I'd be that easy to find? How is this possible? Felix walked to the window. The welded iron bars were perfectly intact. Did she just vanish into thin air? "Felix!" General Wu's adjutant yelled at him, his Mandarin broken and grating to my ears. "You brought that woman here. You killed the general." "Adjutant Du, I have no idea what happened." Felix quickly explained. "That woman was so small and weak, there's no way she could have killed the general. An assassin must have gotten in last night. Didn't you say not even a fly could get in here?" The adjutant roared. "I'm reporting this to Commander Bao." Felix knew he couldn't escape blame. "Please calm down. I will go explain this to Commander Bao myself. Just give me 3 days. I promise I will give everyone an explanation. You better hope you can. The adjutant stormed out, not even bothering with General Wu's body. Boss, what do we do now? Shades asked. Take the body to the storeroom and freeze it for now. It was too hot. The body would start to stink soon. Shades quickly ordered his men to carry the corpse away. After everyone had left, Felix remained alone in the empty room. His hawk-like eyes scanned every corner. Sweetheart, where in the world did you go? General Wu's body was dragged to the storeroom. Because he was so massive, it took several men a great deal of effort to stuff him into the freezer. The funny thing was, none of these guys, who all had blood on their hands, could even bear to look at the general's corpse. Shades didn't leave right away. He sent for Rosie. Rosie was practically carried in, sobbing the moment she saw Shades. Shades, oh Shades, I swear I don't know what happened. The boss put you in charge of the villa. Now a man is dead on your turf. What do you have to say for yourself? Rosie cried hysterically. I checked everything carefully before I left. There was no place for anyone to hide in that room. Shades sighed. The boss gave me 3 days to find the person responsible. If I can't, someone has to take the fall. So what do you think I should do? Rosie fell to her knees at his feet, begging. Shades, save me. I'll do anything you want. You said it yourself. Shades smirked wickedly. He dismissed his men. The two of them immediately went at it. Rosie, desperate to save her own skin, was incredibly enthusiastic. I felt my face flush. For God's sake, I'm still an innocent young woman. Ugh, I really couldn't listen to this anymore. Lost in their passion, neither of them noticed the freezer behind them quietly creaking open. I slowly sat up from inside the freezer, my wet hair plastered to my face. I turned my head to look at the two entangled lovers. Shades' back was to me, he was completely oblivious. But Rosie heard the noise. She saw me sit up in the freezer. The sight must have been so shocking that her eyes went wide, and she forgot to even scream. Shades was annoyed. He grabbed her face and growled, "Pay attention." In the time it took him to say that, I had already hopped out of the freezer. Rosie's eyes grew wider and wider. She opened her mouth to let out a piercing scream. I immediately threw a wad of something unidentifiable into her gaping mouth. Shades finally noticed me. The moment he turned his head, I bent my knee and drove it into his back, shattering his spine. At the same time, I grabbed his face and with a sharp crack, dislocated his jaw. He collapsed to the ground like a sack of meat. Rosie spat out the object and started crawling toward the door, retching. I grabbed her by her big curly hair and dragged her back, then chopped the back of her neck with the side of my hand. Her eyes rolled back, and she passed out. I hauled Shades onto the operating table. His dislocated jaw hung open. He couldn't form a single word, only managing muffled, mmmph sounds. His naked body was grotesque, his fat belly heaving with every breath. Ugh, an eyesore. I started to put his clothes back on him. I might have been a bit rough, because his sunglasses fell off, and tears welled up in his eyes. Oh whoops, my bad. I scratched my head awkwardly. I forgot your spine was broken. The tears in his eyes glistened even more. He looked so pathetic. But he was also drooling a lot. Ugh, disgusting. I needed to shut him up. I glanced around the room. It was an operating theater, probably used for organ harvesting. The walls and floor were stained with dried blood. The cabinets were filled with jars of organs floating in formaldehyde. I searched around and found a few bottles of chemical reagents. Perfect. These would do nicely. I poured a cocktail of high-concentration chemicals straight into his mouth. A hissing sound, tssssss, filled the air, followed by a plume of white smoke and a foul stench. Shades struggled for a few moments, but then he went still. His eyes, now without their sunglasses, stared blankly at the ceiling. He was gone. So many chemicals left over. What a waste. He was far weaker than General Wu. I clicked my tongue and looked over at the unconscious Rosie, studying her face. A few moments later, I had a new look. I fluffed my curly hair and pinned a red flower behind my ear. Then I pushed open the door and swaggered out. Outside the door, a few of Shades' men looked at me with surprise. I put on a frantic act and told them Shades had gone crazy and needed immediate medical help. They rushed inside. By the time they saw the two bodies, I was long gone. But how could I truly disappear? I wanted to see the look on Felix's face when he found out. Our game had only just begun. When Felix got the news, he was, as expected, furious. He came to the storeroom and saw the two bodies on the floor, his face burning with rage. Shades's men stammered, unable to explain what happened, only agreeing that they had seen Rosie walk out. So who was the faceless female corpse on the floor? Felix rubbed his temples, then pulled out his gun and, with 2 quick shots, killed the useless fools. He then ordered the bodies on the floor to be dragged out and fed to the dogs. Next, he summoned everyone, his face dark and menacing. Seal every exit to the compound. I don't care if it's an assassin or a mole. I want you to tear this place apart, but you will find that person for me. And he paused, that woman. I want her alive. Everyone knew he was in a foul mood. No one dared to say a word as they scrambled to carry out his orders. I was almost touched that Felix was so concerned about me, but he still had no idea I was the one behind all this. How disappointing. To find me, Felix brought in hunting dogs. This created a bit of a problem for me, but I like a challenge. Woof, woof, woof. A hound caught my scent and started barking furiously at the tree I was hiding in. Damn it, I was just about to get some rest. Someone's up there. A few thugs raised their guns, ready to fire. Don't shoot. I called out in a timid voice, peeking my pale little face out from behind the thick leaves. The leader was a bald man. I'd seen him before. He was Felix's oldest subordinate. When Felix was pretending to be a rich kid to get close to me, this guy had played the role of his chauffeur. But I had actually seen him long before that. Not that anyone would remember. The bald man recognized me instantly and motioned for his men to lower their weapons. It's you? He looked at me, then at the 10-foot-tall tree, his eyes full of suspicion. How did you get up there? My eyes welled with tears. I don't know. That night, a man broke in. He killed General Wu. I shook my head, pretending to be on the verge of a breakdown, tears streaming down my face as if I couldn't bear to recall the horrific scene. It was so scary. I must have fainted. When I woke up, I was here. I started to sob. I'm so scared. They say tears are a woman's best weapon, and it proved true with this bald man. He was already looking at me with pity. Come on down. I'll take you to see Felix. I shook my head, feigning terror. I can't. It's too high. The bald man put down his gun and beckoned to me. Don't be afraid. I'll catch you. I hesitated for a moment, then put on a show of brave resolve, closed my eyes, and jumped. Sure enough, he caught me. His hands wrapped around my waist, and he didn't let go. No wonder the boss wants you back alive. His big hands started to wander over my body. You really are a natural-born temptress. He laughed, the same leering smile I'd seen on Shades' face. A look of fear crossed my face. What are you doing? I struggled a bit, my hands weakly beating against his massive chest. Let me go. Let me go. This only excited him more. He tossed me into the bushes and started walking toward me. Tiger, this isn't a good idea. The boss told us to bring her back, one of his underlings said. The bald man, Tiger, sneered. The boss said he wanted her alive. Well, she'll still be alive when I'm done with her. He started to unbutton his shirt. Don't worry, I won't forget about you guys. You can all have a turn. At this, the other thugs grinned greedily. I cried, shaking my head. No, don't come any closer. If you dare. Ugh, all this crying was exhausting. I took a breath. I won't let you get away with this. Tiger roared with laughter. You can try. As he lunged at me, I suddenly stopped crying and gave him a dazzling smile. I'm going to kill you, you know. I flicked open the scalpel hidden between my fingers and drew it lightly across his throat. The next second, his eyes widened in disbelief. Blood sprayed from his neck, splattering my face. I kicked him away. The scalpel in my hand was a blur of motion, and before the other thugs could even react, I had taken them all down. After finishing them off, I walked over to Tiger. He was lying on the ground, clutching his neck as blood gushed between his fingers. I crouched beside him. I looked at him, and he looked at me. Sigh, I said, exasperated. I told you I was going to kill you. Why didn't you believe me? Tiger's eyes stared at me, wide and unblinking. Why does everyone love to stare so much? I slapped him across the face, knocking his head to the side. Does that slap help you remember who I am? I asked with a cold smile. Tiger coughed up a mouthful of blood and went still. He died without ever remembering me. Now that I've taken out Felix's right and left hand men, who's next? Help us, warrior. As I was thinking, I heard a few weak cries for help. Warrior? That's an interesting title. I looked up at the small river ahead. And it was a water prison filled with people. They were pressed against the wooden bars, all staring at me. It seemed they had seen everything that just happened. Because all the guards had been sent to search for me. The water prison was barely guarded. They begged me to open the lock and let them out. I looked at them, emaciated, covered in scars, and shook my head. All the exits from the compound are sealed. You won't be able to escape. So you're just going to leave us here to die? One of them, a particularly large man, demanded, his tone now accusatory. I rolled my eyes. I shouldn't have even spoken to them. Just wait a few more days, I said wearily. Once Felix was dead, they'd be free. I dusted myself off and turned to leave. Hey warrior, you don't want them to find out what you did, do you? The fat man called out, his voice a low threat. Oh, now he's threatening me. I raised an eyebrow, tilted my head, and smiled at him. The smile made his hair stand on end. He seemed to remember how I'd just killed those men and swallowed nervously. I waded through the water toward him. He backed away in fear. With a smirk, I easily broke the lock on the water prison and let them all out. If you get caught, I warned them, don't you dare rat me out. Once he was out, the fat man's attitude changed completely. He bowed and scraped. Don't worry, warrior. We'll keep your secret. We'll die before we say a word. With that, he led the charge and ran off. The others followed, and soon they were all gone. I turned back and saw one person still in the water prison. It was a young man. He looked tall, even sitting down the water only came up to his shoulders. He was watching me quietly. You're not leaving? I asked him. You said to wait a few more days, he replied. I believe you. He looked at me with sincere eyes. This guy was strange. Stranger than me. The sound of barking dogs grew closer. I didn't have time to waste on him and quickly left. Felix's dogs, raised on human flesh, were truly ferocious. I was forced to change my hiding spot several times. Covered in blood again. So annoying. In the distance, more barking, but this time it was more frantic. The sound of footsteps grew chaotic, mixed with a few gunshots. Sounds like there's a party over there. And I love a good party. I immediately headed toward the noise. In a clearing lay a pile of bodies. It was Tiger and his men. Felix stood over Tiger's corpse. He looked genuinely sad. He stood there for a long time before covering him with a white sheet. TSK, talk about playing favorites. Shades was his right-hand man too, and all he got was to be dog food. A few thugs dragged over a group of people, the ones from the water prison. I told them they wouldn't get far. They didn't listen. The fat man knelt on the ground and crawled toward Felix. Mr. Felix, sir. Please don't kill me. I know who killed Tiger. Felix kicked the fat man over and planted his military-booted foot on his face. You're in no position to bargain. Talk. Who was it? It was a girl. Small, skinny, really pretty. The fat man was spouting nonsense to save his skin. She was hiding in a tree and ambushed Tiger when he wasn't looking. That woman is cunning as a fox. He didn't finish his sentence. A bullet tore through his head. Is he telling the truth? Felix kicked the fat man's body aside and asked the remaining people coldly. Yes. The others trembled, no doubt regretting not listening to me now. Felix turned away without a word. Behind him, his men raised their assault rifles. After a burst of gunfire, all the people from the water prison lay in pools of their own blood. It was getting dark again. 1/3 of the 3 days Felix had promised was already gone. Felix stood with his back to everyone. No one knew what he was thinking. Find me that woman. Felix gritted out. I must be the first woman to make him hate me this much. I felt a small surge of pride. I want her alive, Felix said, turning to face his men. TSK this man. He still can't bring himself to kill me. He must really love me. From a distance, I made a heart shape with my hands for him. Then he added, I just need you to leave her breathing. I don't care what she looks like when you bring her back. His tone was ice cold, sending a chill through the air. You jerk. I was just complimenting you. And you immediately slapped me in the face. Looks like I have to get serious. I melted silently into the moonlit night. I snuck into Felix's blood bank and punctured every single blood bag. Blood flowed like a river, some seeping into the soil, some draining into the river. The strong smell of blood attracted crocodiles from downstream. Next, I went to Felix's flower fields and set a fire that burned all his crops to the ground. Thick black smoke billowed into the sky, and downwind, animals stampeded through the jungle in a frenzy. I had Felix running around in circles. What he didn't know was that I was the world's best assassin, and he had foolishly scattered his forces. I set up primitive traps in the jungle. The thugs searching for me stumbled into them, completely unaware, as countless wooden arrows shot out from all directions, piercing their bodies. In the jungle, these things are far more effective than guns. Time ticked by. The 3-day deadline was fast approaching. Felix finally realized how dangerous I was, but by then, it was too late. He was forced to borrow troops from Commander Bao to hunt me down, but I was already somewhere none of them could have ever imagined. I arrived at Felix's residence. Since he wasn't home, it was ironically the safest place to be. He had posted plenty of guards in front of the villa, but I took care of the few grunts without them even knowing I was there. I strolled right through the front door. The first thing I did was raid the kitchen fridge. I hadn't had a proper meal in almost 2 days. I'm only human after all. If I didn't eat soon, I was going to starve to death. Brother, is that you back? A young girl heard the noise and came down from the second floor. She froze when she saw me. I was in the middle of stuffing a piece of chocolate cake into my mouth. Oops, I've been discovered. What should I do? I slowly chewed my cake, sizing her up. She was as thin as ever. The loose nightgown hung on her like she was a coat rack. The hand resting on the railing was as delicate as a twig, and 4 needle was taped to it. I could snap it with a gentle squeeze. Who are you? She asked. Miss, it's almost time for your dialysis. Why did you come out? A nurse came up behind her, and then saw me. Intruder. Security, security, she yelled. I shoved the rest of the cake into my mouth, vaulted up the stairs, past the girl, and landed on the second floor. I chopped the nurse on the side of the neck, and she crumpled to the ground. Is that you, Ash? She called out my name. She recognized me instantly. No one had called me by that name in years. I turned to look at her, my eyes stinging, my breath catching in my throat. Damn it. I was choking. I pounded on my chest. She quickly grabbed a bottle of water for me. I took the water and drank it without hesitation. Ash, it really is you. She excitedly hugged me. Did my brother bring you here? Her embrace made me uncomfortable. Ash, it's so good to see you're alive. Her voice, repeating my name, dragged me back into a flood of painful memories. My emotions hadn't been this turbulent in years. It was the name my parents gave me. A girl, and they named me Ash. I used to hate it, but they said it held their simplest, most beautiful hope for me, that I would grow strong and bright like the morning sun. But I could never live up to their hopes. Now, I was doomed to live forever in the shadows. Ash, why aren't you saying anything? She let go and looked at me. After all these years, she was still so innocent. So innocent it made me jealous. Ash, please don't be mad at me, okay? She said, carefully taking my hand, her eyes shimmering with tears. I asked my brother to look for you, but they said you were eaten by wolves. I'm not mad at you, I said with a smile. I'm here to see you, aren't I? No one knows how a 9-year-old girl survived alone in the jungle across the border. Hearing my words, she happily pulled me into her room. Her room was like another world. As cruel as it was outside, it was warm and cozy in here. I stepped onto the pristine white carpet, leaving 2 black footprints. It's okay. I'll have someone clean it later, she said quickly, before I could apologize. She pulled me down to sit on the edge of her bed. The mattress was soft and warm. How ironic. If it weren't for Felix, I should be the one rolling around happily on a bed this warm. But there are no if-onlys. Flashes of memory shot through my mind. Blinding headlights, an overturned car. 9-year-old me, being dragged from the back seat. In the passenger seat, my mother's head was lolled to the side, lifeless. My father, in the driver's seat, was still alive. He reached out his hand for me. A gunshot rang out. A bullet pierced his head. The man holding the gun wore sunglasses and a cruel smirk. I screamed. A slap sent my ears ringing. The man threw me over his shoulder. Under the lights, his bald head gleamed. The man in sunglasses set the car on fire. In the roaring flames, they led me toward a handsome young man. The sound of a car engine pulled me back from my memories. Mia. Felix's anxious voice called from downstairs. He must have seen the bodies in the yard. Brother. Mia answered and ran to the balcony. She waved me over. Look who's here. I walked up behind Mia. I saw the man they called Felix, usually so cold and ruthless, his face drain of all color. It's Ash. Mia announced happily to Felix. She came to see me. Hi, I said, waving at him. I used my most sickeningly sweet tone. Felix, my big brother, long time no see. Felix's face was a mess of emotions, but he didn't dare let it show. I heard the men behind him quietly chambering their rounds. Don't you hurt Mia. She's innocent. If you want revenge, come for me. Felix stared at me. It was the first time I'd ever seen him so nervous. It was amusing. My life is yours, he said, enunciating every word. Brother, what are you talking about? Mia was confused. What do you mean your life? He said he'd give me his life, but the hand hidden behind his back was secretly making a signal. Men's words are nothing but lies. Your brother says he owes me 2 lives, and he's going to pay for them with his own. No one gets to live in an ivory tower forever. Why should other people's lives be treated like dirt while she gets to be protected like a child? Do you know why I showed up in your hospital room when you were 9? I said calmly. Because just like you, I have Rh-negative O-type blood. I was your kidney source and your personal blood bag. Your brother went to a lot of trouble to find someone with your blood type. So he killed my parents and brought me across the border, just waiting for you to get old enough for a transplant. Too bad for him, I didn't listen. I snuck away. Made him go find another kidney for you all over again. Mia heard the cruel truth and shook her head in disbelief. No, that's not true. My brother isn't like that. He's your good brother, but he's someone else's nightmare, I said with a raised eyebrow. If you don't believe me, ask him yourself. Down below, Felix's face was unreadable. That's enough, he said. Just let Mia go. I'll give you anything you want. Anything? Okay, then I'll start with your eyes, I said flatly. Gouge them out. Right now. Felix pulled out a knife and held the tip to his own eye. I could see him hesitating. No, brother, don't. Mia cried, lunging toward the balcony railing. My expression changed. I reached out and grabbed her. At that exact moment, I heard the whistle of a bullet cutting through the air, and a sharp pain exploded in my chest. The impact threw me backward, and I slammed onto the floor. A pair of military boots appeared in my vision. My sight was starting to blur. I was so sleepy. Don't worry, boss. It missed her heart. Felix nodded. Get the doctors here for the transplant. Now. Hearing this, Mia spread her arms to block my body. Brother, you've already killed Ash's parents. You can't hurt her anymore. I'm just taking one of her kidneys, Mia. After the surgery, I'll send her away from here, Felix soothed her. Mia just shook her head, not believing him. Felix ordered, take the young miss to the operating room and put her under. Mia was dragged away, her useless cries of brother, brother, echoing behind her. A large patch of blood soaked through my chest. My breathing grew weaker. I struggled to lift my eyelids. Felix. I managed to speak. Sweetheart, Felix looked down at me. Why can't you just be good? I didn't want to have to kill you, but now things have gotten so messy, it's hard to clean up. I let out a cold laugh, too weak to say another word. Take her to the operating room, Felix commanded coldly. A few thugs came to lift me, but before their hands could touch me, I rolled, pulled out a gun and fired. They all dropped. Felix was stunned. Before he could react, I shot him in the right shoulder. Get your men out of here. I pressed the muzzle of the gun to his head. He had no choice but to signal for his men to leave the room. Now it was just the two of us. You're not. Felix frowned in disbelief. Oh, I paid a visit to your armory, I said, unbuttoning my jacket to reveal the bulletproof vest underneath. Look what I found. You've got so many nice toys hidden away. You. Felix's chest heaved with rage. Then what about the blood on your clothes? You were bleeding so much. When I was draining your blood bank, I snagged a couple of bags. Had a feeling they might come in handy. Didn't think I'd actually use them, I said, laughing at the thought. I just put them in the pocket of my inner lining. Your sniper's got good aim. Hit it dead on. Cough, cough. Felix coughed so hard I thought he was going to spit up blood. You're not getting out of here. He finally choked out. My men have this entire place surrounded. Oh, I said. So what? I never planned on getting out of here alive. I already died once 12 years ago. You think I'm afraid to die again? For the past 12 years, the only thing that's kept me alive is the thought of killing you. I looked him straight in the eye, my own filled with killing intent. You. For the first time, a flicker of fear appeared in Felix's cold, dark eyes. So he was afraid to die after all. Let me and Mia go, and everything here is yours, he said, trying to tempt me to save his own skin. I smashed the butt of my gun against his handsome face. He stumbled back a few steps and fell to the floor. I walked over and kicked his injured shoulder. You're in no position to bargain with me. I threw his own words back at him, grinding my heel into his wound. He broke out in a cold sweat from the pain. You once said that if you ever lied to me, you'd die without a grave, I said, pulling out a scalpel. Now it's time for you to keep your promise. However, just as I raised the blade, a burst of gunfire erupted from downstairs. Police! It's the police! Came cries of alarm from below. You in the building, listen up. You are surrounded. Drop your weapons. That voice sounded familiar. Ha ha. Felix let out a wild laugh. He had never been so happy to see the police in his life. You can't kill me now. He taunted. I surrender. Officer, I'm willing to surrender. He shoved me aside and scrambled toward the balcony. Bang. A gunshot rang out. A bullet tore through his leg, and he collapsed to the ground. I walked over, grabbed him by the collar of his shirt, and dragged him to the balcony. Down below, the police, in a joint operation with local forces, had surrounded the villa. Commander Bao's ragtag army had been disarmed, and were kneeling in the courtyard with their hands on their heads. I immediately recognized the officer in charge. It was the strange man I'd met in the water prison. It's you, I said to him. And I know who you are. The man looked up at me and slowly said my name. Azura, the world's top assassin. Felix's eyes widened in terror as he looked at me. Interpol has been hunting you for years. I never thought you'd be hiding here. I shrugged. I wasn't hiding. I came here specifically for him. The man smiled. Felix is a Chinese citizen. Hand him over to me, and I guarantee he will face the full force of the law. And if I don't, I said, then I'll have no choice but to arrest you and extradite you, the man said. Officer, save me. Felix had never loved the police more than he did in that moment. He screamed desperately to the men below. If I don't kill him, you'll let me go? I asked. The man hesitated for a moment. I will fight for leniency for you. I thought for a second, then tossed my gun down to the ground and raised my hands. Fine. I'll listen to you. I won't kill him. I surrender. Both Felix and I were put into police cars. Because we were both considered high-risk criminals, we were transported in separate vehicles. He was put in his car first. As he limped past me, he looked up, a provocative glint in his eyes. We were to be extradited overnight. Tonight on the border, there was no moon. The night was as dark as spilled ink. The vehicles sped through the mountainous border region. I sat in the back seat, flanked by two officers, guarded heavily. Suddenly, a roaring sound erupted. An SUV shot out of a cornfield by the side of the road. It slammed head-on into the lead car of our convoy. The vehicles behind couldn't stop in time, and crashed into each other. 5 or 6 gunmen jumped out of the SUV and opened fire on the police cars. The police and local military in the rear vehicles returned fire. One car's gas tank was hit, and it instantly exploded. The violent blast knocked everyone to the ground. The officers who had been guarding me joined the firefight, leaving me handcuffed alone in the car. The massive shockwave shattered the car windows, and my face was cut by flying glass. I saw Felix climb out of the car ahead with the help of 2 gunmen. They hadn't gotten far before the gunmen were shot down. Felix picked up a gun and returned fire. Under the cover of others, he dove into a car, slammed on the gas, and sped away, abandoning the men who had come to rescue him. The gunfire faded into the distance. In the driver's seat, Felix was laughing maniacally, completely unaware of me clinging to the roof of the car. I swung myself over and dropped down outside the driver's side window. He was shocked and swerved violently, trying to shake me off. When that didn't work, he pulled out his pistol. The SUV's windows had also been shattered in the explosion. I reached in and grabbed for his gun. In the struggle, he didn't see the massive boulder in front of him. He crashed straight into it. I was thrown a great distance. I lay on the ground, still conscious, feeling like every bone in my body was broken. I painfully pulled myself up and walked to the SUV. White smoke poured from the engine. The airbag had deployed, and Felix was slumped over it, his condition unknown. I dragged him out of the car. There was a river nearby. I pulled him to the bank and splashed a handful of water on his face. The cold water shocked him awake. The moment he saw me, he tried to fight back, but in terms of skill, he was no match for me. Still, we were both badly injured and bleeding. I didn't have the energy to play cat and mouse anymore. I plunged a knife into his chest. He grunted and fell to the ground. "You know why I didn't kill you back there?" I said, sitting down beside him. "Because I didn't want you to die so quickly." Lying on the ground, gasping for breath, his limbs were numb, completely paralyzed. Blood trickled from his mouth. "I coated this blade with a poison I made especially for you. I call it the Avenger's kiss," I said slowly. "Soon you'll start to feel cold all over. Your limbs will go stiff. It will feel like a million ants are chewing on your bones." Felix started to tremble. He was in too much pain to speak. The blood from his mouth, nose, and eyes started to flow more freely. "I don't want to die," he managed to force out, his once perfect features twisting in agony. "Please let me go." The man who was once so proud was now using the word please. "No one can save you," I said, shaking my head. "In 3 hours, the toxin will reach your brain. You will see the things you fear most in this life. Maybe," I paused, "you'll see how." I rested my head on my hands and lay down next to Felix. As he writhed in agony, I slowly drifted off to sleep. I had a dream. I dreamed of my parents again. It seemed to be my college graduation. I was wearing a cap and gown, and we were taking a happy family photo on campus. The sun was bright that day, and the breeze was gentle, but the sound of footsteps behind me shattered my beautiful dream. Someone was coming. I slowly stood up. At my feet, Felix had long stopped breathing. His face was a mask of torment, black, dried blood caked around his eyes, nose, and mouth. His once deep, soulful eyes were now stagnant pools. A few flies landed on his lifeless pupils and stayed there. In the distance, the sun was rising, a sliver of white light on the horizon. The footsteps behind me stopped. He didn't dare get too close. The cliff at my feet dropped down to a wide river. In China, it's called the Lansong. Across the border, it's the Mekong. All it would take was one small leap, and I would fall into the churning water below. "Azura," he called out to me. "My name is Dawnsong," I said, gazing at the rising sun. I never introduced myself either. "My name is Miller," he said, taking the initiative, as if trying to bridge the gap between us. A fitting name for his profession. "Agent Miller, would you like to hear my story?" "Yes," he agreed. "When I was 9, Felix killed my parents and brought me across the border. He did it because his sister, Mia, had a rare blood type, Rh-O, the same as mine, and she was born with kidney failure. I was kept like a pet by Mia's side. She was lonely and happy to have a playmate. But why should I have to be her kidney donor? The happier she was, the more I resented it. Every day, I replayed the memory of how my parents died. Finally, one day, I found a lapse in security and ran. The border is all primeval forest. They chased me, and to escape them, I went deeper and deeper into the woods. Even an adult can't get out of the border jungle, let alone a 9-year-old girl. I ran into a pack of wolves. Just when I thought I was going to be eaten, someone saved me. He was hiding in the forest after a mission. He watched me for a day, decided I had potential, and saved me on a whim. After that, he became my teacher. He brought me to Azura. Azura was a strange place. It gathered the world's most elite assassins. They were in the business of killing, yet they all took names from Buddhist deities. In Azura, there were countless children like me. Every day, we endured brutal training. Because of my special blood type, I almost died several times. But I survived. Because I knew I had something important left to do. I couldn't die. I finally made it to 18. That year, I fought my way out from a group of hundreds and officially became a member of Azura. I was given a new name. From then on, people called me Azura. You already know the rest of the story, I said, staring at the rising sun. The light broke through the clouds and fell on my face. It was a warmth I hadn't felt in a long, long time. Dawn, come back with me, Miller said from behind me. I'll take you home. Home. I turned to look at him. I don't have a home anymore. No. Where you are, that's where home is. I laughed. Go back with you? And make a prison my home? Miller was stunned into silence by my question. Agent Miller, thank you for listening to my story. But I'm not going with you. My smile vanished, and I took a step back. Miller's face changed. Dawn, calm down. I will go home. But not like this. I opened my arms, feeling the sunlight. I gave Miller a slight smile and fell backward. Mom, Dad, I'm coming. No. Miller lunged forward but couldn't catch me. He watched as I plummeted into the raging river below. I watched him scream my name in despair from the clifftop. Dawn Song. I closed my eyes and sank slowly into the water. I didn't know where the current would take me. I only hoped that wherever it was, there would be no more killing. The end.